Get your hands off her. Now!
Sir, the baby is transverse. She's hemorrhaging. If you don't rotate...
I said get your black hands off my patient! You are a janitor. You don't touch a billionaire's wife with those filthy fingers. Security, get this animal out of my operating room!
James Dawson didn't flinch. He lowered his hands slowly, blood still warm on his palms, and stepped back from the table. His voice came out quiet, almost gentle.
She has about 4 minutes, Doctor. The baby has less.
Dr. Whitmore's lip curled.
I'd rather she die on my table than live because a janitor played surgeon.
The monitor screamed. The woman's eyes rolled white. And the man they dragged out of that room was the only person who knew how to save her. What happened next changed a billionaire's life forever. Pinnacle Grace Medical Center doesn't look like a hospital. It looks like a place where money goes to feel safe. The lobby is Italian marble, floor to ceiling. Crystal chandeliers hang above a concierge desk staffed by women in designer blazers who greet patients by last name and portfolio size. The elevators require key cards. The hallways smell like eucalyptus and silence. A private suite on the maternity floor costs $25,000 a night. This is where Manhattan's wealthiest come to have their children, surrounded by soft lighting, imported lemons, and the absolute certainty that nothing could ever go wrong. 14 floors below, in a basement lit by flickering fluorescent tubes, James Dawson sits on an overturned bucket in a supply closet that someone once called a break room. He is eating a sandwich wrapped in aluminum foil. His gray coveralls are spotless, pressed, tucked, every button fastened. He has been a janitor here for 6 years. He arrives before dawn, he leaves after midnight. He speaks when spoken to, which is almost never. He is 48 years old, black, built like a man who has spent his whole life carrying things nobody else wanted to lift. His eyes hold the kind of quiet that people mistake for emptiness. They are not empty. They are watching. Around his neck, hidden beneath his collar, hangs a thin steel chain. On it, a single dog tag, scratched, dented, the letters almost smooth. He touches it sometimes when no one is looking. No one is ever looking. Tonight, as he mops past the 14th floor maternity ward, he notices a surgical tray outside a delivery suite. The instruments are arranged wrong. The curved Kelly clamp facing backward, the sterile drape folded off center. His fingers drift toward the clamp. He catches himself. He is not allowed to touch those things. He grips the mop handle and keeps walking. Good evening, James. Nurse Elena Brooks, senior labor and delivery nurse, the only person in this building who uses his first name. She smiles at him the way you smile at someone carrying a secret too heavy to put down. He nods. She walks on. He looks back at the surgical tray one more time. He doesn't fix it, but his jaw tightens. His hands remember. Outside, rain hammers Manhattan. Thunder rolls like a warning nobody hears. At 9:47 p.m., a black armored SUV screeches to a halt at the private entrance. Nathan Cole, 41, founder of ArcLight Industries, net worth $18 billion, half carries his wife Caroline through the glass doors. Blood is running down her legs, pooling on the marble in dark, spreading circles. Nathan Cole controls rooms, markets, entire industries. Tonight, his hands are shaking. Somebody help her. Please, somebody help my wife. Caroline is 35, 8 months pregnant. Her face is white, her breathing shallow and rapid. She is guarding her left side, one arm pressed hard against her ribs, her body curling around the pain. Dr. Gerald Whitmore sweeps through the corridor like a man who has been waiting for a stage. Late 50s, silver hair, cashmere coat over pressed scrubs. He carries himself the way certain men do when they have confused authority with competence for so long they can no longer tell the difference. Whitmore recognizes the name Cole. His smile widens. He extends his hand to Nathan before he even glances at Caroline. Mr. Cole, Gerald Whitmore, Chief of Obstetrics, you're in the finest hands in New York. He shakes the billionaire's hand for 3 full seconds. Caroline is bleeding on the floor behind him. Down the hall, James Dawson stands in the shadow of a supply alcove, mop in hand, invisible. He watches Caroline's breathing, the short gasps, the left side guarding, the eyes losing focus. His hand drifts to the dog tag under his collar. He grips it hard enough to feel the edges bite into his palm. He has seen this before. Not here. Somewhere with dust instead of marble, and screaming instead of silence. And a 19-year-old woman on a dirt floor with the same look in her eyes. He knows what is happening inside Caroline Cole's body. He knows how it ends if no one acts. He lets go of the dog tag, picks up his mop, walks back to the basement. But his hands won't stop shaking. On the 14th floor, Caroline Cole is dying faster than anyone expected. Dr. Whitmore orders an ultrasound. The image confirms what no one in the room wants to see: a severe placental abruption, the placenta tearing away from the uterine wall, blood filling the space between. Worse, the baby is transverse, sideways. A natural delivery is impossible. The fetal heart rate monitor, which should be beating a steady rhythm between 120 and 160, is dropping. 105, 98, 91. Dr. Vivian Shaw, second-year OBGYN resident, talented but barely 2 years past her textbooks, is trying to prep an emergency IV line. Her hands are trembling so badly she misses the vein twice. She looks at Whitmore for guidance. Whitmore is on the phone. How far out is Dr. Brennan? 40 minutes? That's unacceptable. Call his driver. Call a helicopter. I don't care. He hangs up. The attending anesthesiologist is stuck in crosstown traffic. The backup surgeon is 40 minutes away. Whitmore stares at the ultrasound screen with the expression of a man watching his reputation bleed out on a table. He hasn't performed an emergency C-section in over 3 years. He delegates those now. He attends galas. He gives keynote speeches. He shakes hands with donors. His surgical skills have atrophied under layers of ego and administrative comfort. And tonight they are needed, and they are not there. In the hallway, Nathan Cole paces like a caged animal, phone pressed to his ear, shouting at someone who cannot help. I don't care what it costs. Get someone here. Get the best. I will buy this hospital if I have to. His voice cracks on the last word. He is not buying anything tonight. He is begging. Inside the delivery suite, the fetal heart rate drops to 84. Caroline's blood pressure follows, 80/50 and falling. Shaw's voice breaks. Dr. Whitmore, we need to make a decision, now. Whitmore stares at the monitors. His mouth opens. Nothing comes out. Then, quietly, almost to himself, we may need to consider which one we can save. Shaw's face goes white. Elena Brooks, standing at the IV stand, closes her eyes for 1 second. 1 second of grief for a sentence that should never be spoken. In the corridor, James Dawson is on his knees, cleaning a spill of antiseptic solution outside the delivery suite. The door is half open. He hears everything. The alarms, Shaw's cracking voice, and then Whitmore's words. Which one we can save. His hand stops moving. The rag drips onto the tile. His breathing changes. Slower. Deeper. The way it used to change when the first mortar round hit, and every nerve in his body switched from civilian to soldier. He knows that sound. the sound of a doctor surrendering. He heard it in Kandahar, in Fallujah, in places where surrender meant body bags. Through the half-open door he can see the instrument tray, the Kelly clamp, the sterile drape, the Metzenbaum scissors. He knows every tool by touch. His hands know what to do. They have always known. He stands. He steps into the doorway, and he speaks. Doctor, if the baby is transverse, you can attempt an external cephalic version before committing to the section. Her vitals might hold if you reduce the abruption bleed with bimanual compression first. Silence. Every head in the room turns. The monitors keep screaming, but the humans have gone still. A janitor is standing in the doorway of an operating suite, speaking in clinical terminology that most first-year residents haven't memorized yet. Whitmore's face cycles through 3 expressions in 2 seconds: confusion, disbelief, and then something darker, something old. His nostrils flare. His chin lifts. He crosses the room in 3 strides and stops inches from James's face. Who let you in here? Sir, her left side guarding suggests the abruption is posterior. If you go in blind with a standard transverse incision, I asked you a question. Whitmore's voice drops to a whisper, the kind that is more violent than shouting. Who let the janitor in here? Who let this? He looks James up and down. Gray coveralls, mop in hand, black skin. This person into my operating room. He doesn't say person the way you say person. He says it the way you say something you found on the bottom of your shoe. Security, now. Get him out. Doctor, she has minutes. She is not your concern. Nothing in this room is your concern. You clean toilets. You empty trash. That is the full extent of your contribution to this hospital. And if you say one more word, I will have you terminated tonight. Do you understand me? 2 security guards arrive. They take James by the arms. He doesn't resist. As they pull him from the doorway, his collar shifts. The steel chain catches the fluorescent light. A brief flash, then gone. Elena Brooks sees it. Her eyes widen. She opens her mouth, but James is already being walked down the corridor. Nathan Cole stands at the end of the hall. He watches a black man in coveralls being escorted away by 2 guards, while his wife bleeds on the other side of the wall. Something in his chest twists. He doesn't know what it is yet. James is taken to the 2nd floor administrative office. A supervisor slides a disciplinary form across the desk without looking up. Interfering with medical staff. Unauthorized entry into a restricted area. Insubordination. He clicks his pen. Sign this. You're suspended pending review. Likely termination. James looks at the form. His face is still. His hands are still. He signs it. He stands. He walks to the elevator. The dog tag presses against his chest, like a second heartbeat, like a name the world has tried to erase. The elevator doors close. The number descends. And upstairs, on the 14th floor, Caroline Cole's heart rate drops to 76. Elena Brooks has been a nurse for 19 years. She has watched doctors make mistakes and say nothing. She has watched patients die because someone in a white coat was too proud to ask for help. She has kept her mouth shut, done her job, collected her paycheck, and gone home to a quiet apartment where she doesn't have to pretend that the system works. Tonight, she is done pretending. She stands in the delivery suite, staring at the ultrasound image on the screen. The abruption is posterior, exactly where James said it was. If Whitmore goes in with a standard transverse incision, the scalpel will cut directly into the placental bed. Blood loss will double. The mother will code on the table. The baby will be dead before it takes a breath. The janitor was right. The chief of obstetrics is about to make a fatal mistake, and no one in this room has the courage to say it. Dr. Shaw stands at the bedside, her gloved hands motionless, her face gray. She is 29 years old, and she is watching a woman die in real time. And she knows that the man they just dragged out of this room had the answer. She looks at Elena. Her lips move, but no sound comes out. Elena doesn't need to hear the words. She turns and walks out of the delivery suite. She takes the stairs. Not the elevator, the stairs. 2 at a time. Her sneakers slapping the concrete in the stairwell. Her breath sharp in her throat. She pushes through the basement door and finds him exactly where she knew he would be. James Dawson is sitting on the overturned bucket, not eating, not moving, just sitting with his hands on his knees, staring at the cinder block wall like a man who has been staring at walls for a very long time. The disciplinary form is crumpled in the trash can beside him. "You were right," Elena says from the doorway. She is breathing hard. "The abruption is posterior. How did you know?" James doesn't look up. His thumbs press into his kneecaps. His jaw is set. "James." She steps closer. Her voice drops. "There is a woman upstairs who is going to die. Her baby is going to die. Whitmore can't handle this, and the backup is still 25 minutes out. She doesn't have 25 minutes. She doesn't have 10. Silence. The fluorescent tube above them buzzes and flickers. Somewhere in the basement, a pipe groans. "I got suspended, Elena. They're going to fire me." "I know. I touched nothing. I entered nothing. I stood in a doorway and I spoke. And they dragged me out like I was a threat." "I know, James. Because I'm the janitor. Because I'm black. Because men like Whitmore don't hear words when they come from someone who looks like me. They hear noise." Elena says nothing. She lets the silence hold his words. Then she speaks, and her voice is steady. "You're right. All of it. And I can't fix that tonight. But I can tell you that the woman on that table has about 6 minutes before her baby's heart stops, and you are the only person in this building who knows what to do. So you can sit on this bucket and be right about everything that is wrong with this world, or you can come upstairs and save 2 lives. I can't make you, but I'm asking." James is still. His hand moves to his collar. He pulls the chain free. The dog tag drops into his palm. Dawson, J. SSG 68W. The faint outline of the combat medical badge catches the fluorescent light. Elena sees it. Her breath catches. 68 whiskey. You're a combat medic. I was a combat medic. Now I'm a janitor who got suspended for opening his mouth. How many deliveries? James closes his eyes. When he speaks, his voice is flat, factual, the voice of a man reading coordinates off a map. 214. 63 emergency field deliveries. No surgical suite. No anesthesia. No backup. 31 complicated presentations. 12 abruptions. He opens his eyes. Every mother survived. Every baby survived. Elena extends her hand. "Come with me, now." James looks at her hand. He looks at the crumpled form in the trash. He looks at the dog tag in his palm. Then he stands, tucks the tag back under his collar, straightens his coveralls, and walks toward the stairwell. He doesn't take the elevator. He takes the stairs, the same stairs Elena ran down. He climbs them slowly, steadily, the way a soldier walks toward a sound that everyone else is running from. Floor 3, floor 6, floor 10, floor 14. He pushes the door open. The corridor is chaos. Nurses running, a crash cart being wheeled past, Nathan Cole's voice echoing off the walls. James walks through it all without breaking stride. Calm, measured, eyes forward. His hand finds the dog tag through the fabric of his coveralls. He grips it once. Then he lets go. He has made his decision. And what happens next will change everything. James Dawson walks into the delivery suite the way a man walks into a room he has entered 1,000 times before. Not with arrogance, not with hesitation, but with the settled certainty of someone who knows exactly what he is about to do, and exactly what it will cost him. The room is worse than he expected. Caroline Cole is barely conscious. Her skin is the color of wet paper. The monitors are screaming. Fetal heart rate 78 and falling. Maternal blood pressure 75/45. The surgical tray sits untouched. Dr. Shaw stands at the bedside, both hands flat on the table, frozen. Two nurses are speaking over each other, their voices rising toward panic, and Dr. Gerald Whitmore is standing at the far wall, phone in hand, still waiting for a surgeon who is still 20 minutes away. James steps to the bedside. Whitmore's head snaps up. You. James doesn't stop moving. He reaches for Caroline's wrist and checks her radial pulse. Thready, rapid, fading. I had you removed. Whitmore's voice is ice. I had you written up. How the hell are you back in my... Gerald. Elena Brooke steps through the door behind James. Her voice cuts the room like a scalpel. Every head turns. The fetal heart rate is 78 and falling. Your backup is 20 minutes away. The anesthesiologist is not here. This woman is in hypovolemic shock and her baby is dying. She points at James. This man is a decorated United States Army combat medic, staff sergeant, 14 years of service, 3 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. Over 200 field deliveries, including a dozen abruptions, with a 100% survival rate. You can throw him out again, or you can let him help. But if this woman and her baby die while you're protecting your ego, I will personally make sure every camera in this hospital tells that story. Every single one. The monitor fills the silence. Fetal heart rate, 74. Whitmore's jaw works. His eyes move from Elena to James to the monitors to Caroline's gray face. He is calculating, not medicine, but politics. Liability, headlines, his career. Dr. Shaw speaks first. Her voice is small but clear. Let him help, please. A nurse behind her. Let him help. Whitmore says nothing, but he steps aside. One step. It is the smallest physical movement and the largest surrender of his professional life. James doesn't wait for more. He moves to the head of the bed and begins his assessment. 12 seconds. That is all he needs. Eyes. Pupil response sluggish. Cerebral perfusion is dropping. Skin. Cold, clammy, mottled at the extremities. Hypovolemic shock. Class 3, maybe Class 4. Abdomen. Rigid on the left, soft on the right. Posterior abruption with active hemorrhage. Exactly as he diagnosed from the doorway 20 minutes ago. The baby is still oblique, not fully transverse anymore, which means there is a window. A small one, closing fast. He speaks without looking up. His voice is low, steady, and precise, a frequency that bypasses panic and speaks directly to training. 2 large bore IVs, both antecubital, lactated ringers wide open, type and cross for 4 units packed red cells. Call the blood bank, tell them code crimson. 10 units oxytocin standing by, not in the drip. Foley catheter in, continuous pressure cuff on her left arm. He pauses, looks at his own hands, still in gray coveralls, no gloves. And somebody get me a clean pair of surgical gloves, size 8. The room moves. Not because he has authority, not because he has a title or a badge or a white coat. The room moves because when a man speaks with the certainty of someone who has done this, in dust and darkness and under gunfire. The human body recognizes it before the conscious mind does. It is the voice of survival, and every person in that room hears it. Shaw preps the IV. Elena sets the ringers. A nurse calls the blood bank. Another nurse opens a glove pack and holds it out. James scrubs his hands at the surgical sink. 15 seconds. Methodical, the way he was trained at Fort Sam Houston before his first deployment. He pulls the gloves on. They snap against his wrists. For the first time in 6 years, James Dawson's hands are dressed for the work they were built to do. He repositions the surgical tray. The same tray he noticed was arranged wrong hours ago. He flips the Kelly clamp to face the correct direction. He recenters the sterile drape. He moves the Metzenbaum scissors to the left side. Every correction takes less than a second. His hands know this tray the way a pianist knows a keyboard. Whitmore watches from the corner, arms crossed, his face a mask of cold fury. When James adjusts the tray, Whitmore steps forward. No one moves that equipment without my authorization. James doesn't look up. He finishes the adjustment and turns back to Caroline. Whitmore steps closer. If anything goes wrong in this room, it's on your head. A janitor performing surgery. The board will have you arrested. James, positioning the sterile drape over Caroline's abdomen, speaks without turning. Then they'll arrest a man who saved 2 lives. I've been arrested for less. Whitmore's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. Where I come from, doctor, we didn't wait for permission to save a life. We just saved it. Shaw looks at Elena. Elena looks at Shaw. Something passes between them. Not words, but recognition. The recognition that the hierarchy in this room has just shifted, silently and completely, from a man in a cashmere coat to a man in gray coveralls. At the glass partition outside the delivery suite, Nathan Cole stands with both palms pressed flat against the window. He has stopped shouting. He has stopped calling. He is watching. He watches a janitor in gray coveralls calmly take command of a room full of surgeons. He watches this man's hands move with a precision and confidence that none of the doctors have shown all night. He watches the monitors, the numbers that have been falling all evening, begin to stabilize under the touch of a man the hospital just tried to fire. Nathan Cole built an $18 billion empire by reading people. He has sat across from CEOs, presidents, generals. He knows competence when he sees it. He knows authority when it enters a room. And he knows, with the absolute clarity of a man watching his wife and daughter being pulled from the edge of death, that the man in the gray coveralls is the most qualified person in this building. His phone rings. His CFO. He declines the call. His eyes never leave James Dawson's hands. James leans over Caroline's abdomen to begin the external cephalic version. Both hands placed flat against her belly, fingers spread wide, feeling for the baby's spine, the head, the shoulders. It is a technique that requires equal parts knowledge and touch, the kind of skill that cannot be taught in a lecture hall. It can only be learned by doing it, again and again, in places where failure means a body bag. As he leans forward, the chain around his neck slips free from his collar. The dog tag swings into the surgical light. It catches the glow and holds it, a small rectangle of dull metal, spinning slowly, casting a tiny, moving shadow across Caroline's skin. Dr. Shaw sees it first. She is standing at James's right side, holding a retractor, and the tag swings directly into her line of sight. She reads it without meaning to, the way you read a sign that appears in front of your face. Dawson J. SSG 68W. Below the text, scratched but visible, the faint outline of a cross inside a wreath. The combat medical badge. Shaw's hands stop moving. She looks up at James. His eyes are on Caroline's abdomen, his fingers tracking the baby's position, with a concentration so total that the tag might as well not exist. "Staff Sergeant Dawson," Shaw whispers. 68W. "You're not just a medic. You were a senior line medic." James doesn't look up. His hands keep working, gentle, precise, rotating the baby millimeter by millimeter. Was, past tense. Shaw stares at the tag. Then she looks at Elena, who is standing at the IV pole. Elena meets her eyes and nods once. It is time. Elena speaks. She does not whisper. She speaks clearly, deliberately, loud enough for every person in the room to hear, including Whitmore, who stands in the corner with his arms folded and his jaw clenched. James Dawson served 14 years in the United States Army, 3 combat tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. He was attached to a forward surgical team operating in some of the most dangerous territory on Earth. James's hands keep moving. He does not react. He has heard his own story before. It has never helped him. He performed hundreds of emergency procedures in the field, neonatal resuscitations, complex deliveries under mortar fire, field amputations with no anesthesia and no surgical suite. He delivered babies in bombed-out clinics, in mud-walled compounds, in the back of armored vehicles while taking fire. The room is silent, except for the monitors and Elena's voice. He was nominated for the Silver Star after a compound ambush in Helmand Province. 19 wounded soldiers, 1 pregnant Afghan woman in active labor with a breech presentation. He treated every soldier and delivered that baby, alive, in a 90-minute window while his position was under continuous enemy fire. Shaw's mouth is open. A nurse at the far counter has stopped moving entirely, a syringe frozen in her hand. He came home. Elena's voice changes here, not louder, but harder, the way a voice hardens when it is holding back something that wants to break. The VA lost his service medical records. He applied to 14 hospitals for a position as a surgical technician. Every one rejected him. They told him his field experience did not meet institutional standards. 14 hospitals, 214 deliveries, 100% survival rate, and not one of them would let him touch a patient. She pauses. The monitors beep. Caroline's blood pressure reads 72/44. He became a janitor at Pinnacle Grace 6 years ago because it was the only job this hospital would give a black veteran with no civilian degree. He took it. He never complained. He never stopped watching. He never stopped learning. And he never, not for one single day, stopped being the healer he was trained to be. Elena stopped speaking. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full. Full of the weight of what was just said, pressing against the walls, pressing against the chest of every person in the room. Dr. Shaw looks at James with new eyes. The nurse with the frozen syringe sets it down gently, as though she is suddenly afraid of making noise. And Whitmore, Dr. Gerald Whitmore, Chief of Obstetrics, the man who called security on a combat medic because he saw a black janitor instead of a soldier, has gone completely still. His arms have dropped to his sides. His face holds an expression he has never worn in this hospital. The expression of a man who has just understood, too late, exactly how wrong he has been. He does not speak. For the first time in his career, Gerald Whitmore has nothing to say. At the glass partition, Nathan Cole has heard every word. His hands are pressed against the window so hard that his fingertips have gone white. His eyes are wet. Not from fear, not anymore. From the weight of understanding what this country did to this man. And from the unbearable clarity of knowing that the person saving his wife and daughter is someone the world threw away. The dog tag swings gently against James's chest as he works. He does not tuck it back in. The external cephalic version is failing. James's hands are steady on Caroline's abdomen, applying slow, firm pressure to rotate the baby from oblique to vertex, head down, the only position that gives this child a chance. The baby moves, partially. The head shifts 15 degrees, then 20, then stops. The umbilical cord is under tension. James can feel it through the uterine wall, a taut line of resistance that will not yield. Fetal heart rate, 65. Dr. Shaw's voice cracks like glass hitting tile. We're losing the baby. James does not panic. He closes his eyes. For 3 seconds, he is not in Manhattan. He is in a dirt-floored clinic in Helmand Province. The ceiling is corrugated tin. Dust is falling in thin streams because the mortar rounds are hitting close enough to shake the walls. A 19-year-old Afghan woman is screaming beneath him, her hands gripping a wooden beam, her body rigid with terror. The baby is stuck, oblique, cord-wrapped, refusing to turn. There is no surgeon. There is no ultrasound. There is no backup. There is only him and his hands and the sound of a woman begging in a language he doesn't speak, but understands completely. He saved them both. He opens his eyes. We're not doing a standard section, James says. His voice is calm, absolute. Classical vertical incision, higher on the fundus. It gives me room to rotate and extract without compressing the cord. Shaw stares at him. A classical? That hasn't been standard in... It's standard where I come from. James looks at her. Dr. Shaw, I need you on retraction. Elena, manual uterine displacement. Left lateral tilt, 30 degrees. Get that oxytocin ready. The moment this baby is out, we're going to have a hemorrhage. I need everyone ready. No one argues. No one hesitates. Shaw moves to his left. Elena tilts Caroline's body. A nurse uncaps the oxytocin. The room arranges itself around James Dawson the way a team arranges itself around a man who knows exactly what comes next. Not because of his title, but because of his hands. James picks up the scalpel. He looks at it for 1/2 second. The light running along the blade, the weight of it in his fingers. He has held this instrument on stretchers laid across ammunition crates. He has held it by flashlight, by the glow of a burning vehicle 50 meters away. He has held it with steady hands while the ground shook and men screamed and the sky split open with the sound of things designed to kill. He makes the incision. The scalpel opens the skin in a single clean stroke. No hesitation, no second pass. Subcutaneous fat separates. The fascia parts. The rectus muscles split under his fingers, like a door opening to a room he has entered 200 times before. The peritoneum shines wet and glistening under the surgical light. He reaches the uterus. The classical vertical incision, a long, deliberate cut along the upper segment of the fundus, opens the muscle wall. It is a technique that modern obstetrics has largely abandoned. But modern obstetrics has never operated in a dirt floor clinic under mortar fire. James has. And he knows that when the baby is trapped and the cord is tight, the classical gives you room. Room to reach. Room to rotate. Room to save. Amniotic fluid rushes out, warm, pink-tinged with blood. James's hand enters the uterine cavity. His fingers find the baby. He traces the spine, each tiny vertebra like a string of beads beneath the skin. He finds the shoulder, finds the head. One fluid motion, a rotation that takes less than 2 seconds. The baby rotates. The cord slackens. He delivers the head, then the shoulders, then the body. The baby does not cry. Fetal heart rate, 52. James holds the baby in both hands. A girl, small, dusky blue, her limbs limp, her chest still. He clears the airway with a suction bulb. Nothing. He stimulates the soles of the feet, a firm flick with 2 fingers. Nothing. He places her on the warmer, tilts the head into sniffing position, fits the bag mask over her face, absurdly small, designed for a creature that has never taken a breath and may never take one. He squeezes the bag. 1 breath every 3 seconds. Left hand cups the mask. Right hand compresses the bag. His eyes are locked on the baby's chest, watching for the rise that means air is entering lungs that have never known air. 10 seconds. The chest does not rise. 20 seconds. Shaw is gripping the retractor so hard her knuckles have gone white. Elena's hand is pressed over her mouth. A nurse at the counter has stopped breathing herself. 25 seconds. Nothing. The blue is deepening. Heart rate, 48. Nathan Cole presses both palms flat against the glass partition. His breath fogs the window in short, rapid bursts. He is watching a janitor in gray coveralls breathe life into his daughter, and the only sound in his universe is the hiss of that bag and the silence where a cry should be. 30 seconds. James does not stop. His rhythm does not change. He has been here before, in a tin-roofed clinic with dust in his eyes and blood on his arms, holding a baby that would not breathe, squeezing a bag that felt like squeezing a prayer. He did not stop then. He will not stop now. 31 seconds. The baby's chest hitches, a small, shuddering movement, the tiniest contraction of muscles that have never been used. Then a gasp, then a cry, thin, reedy, furious. The cry of a creature that has just arrived in the world and is already angry about it. Heart rate, 80, 100, 120, 140. Oxygen saturation climbs, 70, 80, 88, 94. Alive, strong, breathing. Shaw lets out a sob. A nurse drops a clamp and doesn't pick it up. Elena turns away from the table, presses her forehead against the wall, her shoulders shaking. The room exhales. But James does not exhale, because he knows what comes next. Elena, the hemorrhage. Now. He turns back to Caroline. The blood is already coming, a dark torrent from the uterine incision site and the abruption bed, spreading across the sterile drape. Blood pressure collapses, 70/40. The monitor alarm shifts to a single, sustained tone. That means time is no longer measured in minutes. James works for 11 minutes. Bimanual uterine compression. One hand inside the uterine cavity, one on the abdomen, squeezing the uterus between them like a man holding a heart together by will. Uterine massage. Oxytocin wide open. He identifies 2 arterial bleeders, bright red jets pulsing with Caroline's weakening heartbeat. He reaches for the Kelly clamps, the same clamps he noticed arranged wrong on the tray hours ago, the same clamps he was not allowed to touch. He clamps both arteries in 8 seconds. The bleeding slows, then stops. Blood pressure stabilizes, 80/50, then 90/60, then 100/70. Caroline's color returns, gradually, like dawn reaching a face that has been in darkness. Her eyes flutter open. Her lips move. One word, barely audible. My baby. Shaw places the baby girl, pink now, furious now, alive now, on Caroline's chest. The tiny hand wraps around her mother's finger. Caroline weeps. The sound is quiet and broken and more beautiful than anything anyone in that room has ever heard. Nathan Cole enters the delivery suite. He sees his wife. He sees his daughter. He sees them breathing together, chest to chest, alive. His legs give out. He drops to his knees on the tile floor and presses his forehead against the bed rail. He is not a man who cries. He is crying now. Then he looks up at James Dawson. Gray coveralls soaked in blood, dog tag hanging free over his chest, surgical gloves still on. The janitor, the combat medic, the man who saved his entire world in a room full of people who tried to throw him out. Nathan reaches for James's hand. James takes it. Nathan's grip is desperate, the grip of a man holding on to the person who pulled him from the edge. He tries to speak, cannot. The grip says everything. Elena stands in the corner, wiping her eyes. Shaw is crying. 2 nurses are crying. The only person not showing emotion is Dr. Gerald Whitmore, standing against the far wall, staring at the floor, arms at his sides, diminished. Not by anyone's words, by his own silence. By the truth that the man he tried to destroy just did what he could not. James gently releases Nathan's hand. He peels off the gloves. He looks at his own hands, the same cracked, scarred, calloused hands that opened this story. They are trembling now, not from fear, from the adrenaline leaving his body. The dog tag hangs over his chest. He does not tuck it back in. Not tonight. Not ever again. The delivery suite is quiet now. The alarms are off. The monitors hum a steady rhythm. 2 heartbeats, mother and daughter, beating in a pattern that sounds like a conversation. The surgical light has been dimmed. The air smells like antiseptic and sweat and something that has no name, but feels like the first clean breath after a storm. Caroline Cole sleeps with her daughter on her chest, skin to skin, the baby's tiny fist curled against her mother's collarbone. Her breathing is steady, deep. The breathing of a woman pulled back from somewhere very far away. Nathan Cole sits beside them. His hand rests on Caroline's arm. His phone sits on the side table, dark, silent, irrelevant. $18 billion could not save his wife tonight. A man in gray coveralls did. Across the room, James Dawson stands at the surgical sink. Water runs over his hands. The same hands that held a scalpel minutes ago, that held a baby, that have held a mop for 6 years. He watches the last traces of blood wash down the drain. Pink, then clear. He turns off the faucet. He picks up his mop. It has been leaning against the wall the entire time, waiting for him the way it has waited every night for 6 years. He walks toward the door. "What's your name?" Nathan's voice. Rough. Broken. James turns. "Dawson. James Dawson." Nathan stands. His eyes are swollen, red, stripped of every layer of power that $18 billion can buy. He is just a man standing in front of another man. "James, thank you isn't enough, I know that. But I need you to know. I saw what happened in this room tonight. All of it. And I will not forget." James holds his gaze. Then he nods. Once. The nod of a man who has been thanked before, and knows that thanks does not undo what the world has done. But for tonight, it is enough. He walks out carrying his mop, the dog tag swinging free over blood-stained coveralls. The elevator doors open. He steps inside, presses the button for the basement. The doors close. The story opened on hands holding a baby. It pauses now on the same hands holding a mop. That distance is about to collapse. Nathan Cole does not sleep that night. He sits in the private recovery suite beside his wife and daughter, watching them breathe. And he makes a decision. Not the kind of decision he makes in boardrooms, calculated, strategic, reversible. The kind of decision that arrives in a man's chest like a fist and does not let go. Within 48 hours, he makes 3 phone calls. The first is to the chairman of Pinnacle Grace's board of directors. The second is to the dean of Columbia University's Vagelos College of Physicians and Surgeons. The third is to the secretary of Veterans Affairs. He does not ask for favors. Nathan Cole does not ask. He presents. He presents the security footage from the 14th floor. Every minute, every angle. He presents James Dawson's military service record, which his legal team recovered from VA archives in 36 hours. 14 years of service, 3 combat tours, 214 field deliveries, a nomination for the Silver Star. He presents the disciplinary write-up that Dr. Gerald Whitmore filed against the man who saved Caroline and Grace Cole. Then he says 6 words: "Fix this, or I go public." The chairman fixes it. Dr. Gerald Whitmore is placed on administrative leave, pending a full review of his clinical performance and his conduct during the Cole delivery. The review uncovers what the hospital spent years burying: 3 previous incidents where Whitmore's delayed decision-making contributed to adverse patient outcomes. Each one quietly settled, each one erased from the record to protect the Pinnacle Grace brand. The board terminates his privileges. His corner office is cleared in a single afternoon. His cashmere coat hangs in a closet that no one opens. He does not give a press conference. He does not write a statement. He disappears. The way powerful men disappear when the power is gone. Quietly. Completely. As though they never existed at all. James Dawson's military medical credentials are formally recognized through an expedited review initiated by the Department of Veterans Affairs, the same department that lost his records, the same system that told him his battlefield experience did not count. He is offered a full scholarship to complete his civilian medical certification at Columbia, funded entirely by the Cole Foundation, a new philanthropic arm that Nathan creates specifically to support veterans whose medical training was never honored by the institutions that should have honored it first. James does not accept immediately. He sits in his apartment in the Bronx, small, clean, sparse, the apartment of a man who has learned to need very little. Holding the dog tag in one hand and the acceptance letter in the other. He stares at both for a long time. Then he picks up a pen. He signs it. On his last day at Pinnacle Grace, he walks the basement corridor one final time. His mop stands in the supply closet, clean and dry. He looks at it the way you look at something that carried you through a season you never want to repeat, but will never forget. He does not touch it. Elena Brooks meets him at the elevator. She is holding a small box. Inside is a stethoscope. New, polished, engraved along the bell in small, precise letters. For the healer who never stopped. E.B. James holds it in his hands. Then he places it around his neck. It hangs beside the dog tag. The old life and the new life, resting side by side against his chest. 6 months later, Nathan and Caroline Cole hold a private christening. They name their daughter Grace, not after the hospital, but after the grace of the man who gave her life. James stands at the back of the church, wearing a pressed shirt and a quiet smile. Caroline sees him. She walks over, places baby Grace in his arms, and says, she should know the first hands that held her. James holds the baby. His hands, calloused, scarred, extraordinary, are perfectly still. The baby sleeps. The dog tag rests against her blanket. This is not a story about a janitor who could do surgery. This is a story about what we lose when we judge people by their uniforms instead of their hands. About institutions that reward titles over talent, pedigree over performance, appearance over ability. About a country that sends young men to war, teaches them to save lives under fire, watches them carry the wounded through dust and blood and darkness, and then tells them, when they come home, that their experience does not meet institutional standards. James Dawson was never less than a healer. Not when he wore combat fatigues. Not when he wore gray coveralls. Not when a man in a cashmere coat looked at his black skin and saw nothing worth listening to. The world did not make James Dawson small. The world simply refused to see how large he had always been. Until one night, on the 14th floor, the world had no choice. Real authority is not given by a badge or a title. It is not printed on a diploma or stitched onto a coat. It is earned. In the moments when everything is falling apart and you are the one person who holds steady. Competence does not need permission. Courage does not need a credential. And the measure of a person is never what they wear. It is what they do when no one believes they can. There are James Dawsons everywhere. In hospitals, in warehouses, in classrooms and kitchens and loading docks. Extraordinary people whose talent is invisible because the world refuses to look past the color of their skin, the title on their badge, or the clothes on their back. They are waiting, quietly, patiently, for the moment when their gift cannot be ignored. And when that moment comes, it does not just save one life, it changes everything. If this story moved you, if it made you think about someone you know who carries a hidden gift the world refuses to see, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it today. Stories like this are how we remind each other that compassion, dignity, and recognition are not luxuries. They are the bare minimum we owe each other. Like this video, share it, subscribe to this channel, because stories like James Dawson's should never go untold. Hashtag Justice for James Dawson. Hashtag Hidden Talent. Hashtag Underdog Story.
214 deliveries, 100% survival rate, and for 6 years, the only thing this man was allowed to hold in that hospital was a mop. But here's what gets me about James Dawson. 14 hospitals told him his experience didn't count, not because he couldn't do the job, because he didn't have the right paper on the wall. And when he walked into that delivery suit, Whitmore didn't see a medic with 240 saves. He saw gray coveralls and black skin. That's it. But those hands didn't need anyone's permission. They never did. And I think about how many people are working around right now, carrying something extraordinary inside them, and the world just won't look. Maybe it's you. Maybe you have been told your experience doesn't count, your skills don't qualify, you don't fit the profile. So tell me something. Have you ever been the most capable person in the room and the last one anyone listened to? Drop the story in the comments. I want to hear it. If this one hit you, smash that like and share it with someone who's been overlooked. Subscribe if you are new. And remember, competence doesn't need permission, and courage has never needed a credential.